Africa really needs the brains. We are the most intelligent race on the face of the planet. We invented almost everything that made this society and every society on the face of the planet human. And when I mean human, I mean as in toilets, sanitary, everything comes from Africa. The chair, the traffic light, the car, the computer. What is it we haven't created?
Now, I'm quite sure this little video clip that you've watched now would set you in the mood to listen to some more craziness that surrounds us and that swamps our daily lives. If you look at that video and you listen to that girl, the thing that should really worry you is not what she's saying, is that there are people that are actually believing that. That should freak you out. But that is what we live with, and we can do nothing about that. And before I start the show, I have to do my piece for the community. There has been an urgent request from a poster on Twitter. Look at it and make your own decision. Friend of mine even taught this Ukrainian refugee to braai. Unfortunately, he is immigrating and can't accommodate her anymore. Anyone willing to help out? Now, unfortunately, this was a few months ago that this request was posted, and I only picked it up this morning. So, if you have some spare room somewhere, help the guy out, because you can't leave her just at his dwelling and go. How must she survive? Right, back to serious stuff. Let's get back and get in touch with reality. Winter in St. Petersburg, the northern capital of Russia. And at the end, I've also included 2 art pieces. Enjoy. Well, now that we are back in reality, let's start the show. I just want to mention, I have done almost 1,000 videos and I'm over 10,000 subscribers, so that translates to roughly 1 video for every 10 subscribers. It's hard work, but I am really very thankful for the support I'm getting, because I must tell you, I'm getting heat like hell. And this week was a rough week, but I'll make a specific skid mark on the things that irritated me the most. And I'm sure it will shock you also, and maybe bring you back to reality. So, let's fire the thing up. China is very much in the factory of the world. It has lifted 1 billion people above the poverty line since 1990. Now let that sink in, and then you bring it into relation with these, I don't know what to call them, other than aspiring Einsteins in our society, that are now desperately promoting the idea that South Africa should adopt the Chinese model. And my question is still, in 1994, you got the forerunner of the Chinese model, and you fucked it up. And now you want to rebuild it. In the same time that you fucked South Africa up, the Chinese used that South African model. Yeah, that Afrikaner Boere model. They used that model to lift 1 billion people out of poverty. You should actually hang your heads in shame. And this is a piece of art that reflects civilization. Look at that art piece. That is in marble. Look at that hand on that girl's leg. Look how that thing was sculpted. That is civilization. And I'm still waiting for these racist blacks that pride themselves of being the source of all humanity. Why don't they show me art pieces like that their civilization has left behind to show that what they have achieved? I'm waiting patiently. And then we get to the Donbass, and this is something that makes me fucking angry. This is Masha, a little girl from Donetsk. She was born during the war and died during the war. As a result of Ukrainian shelling, she was burned alive in a minibus together with her grandmother. Why is Western mainstream media so silent about this? And it is a valid question that he's asking, for the simple reason that the horrific shit that is committed to the civilians of the Donbass is ignored by the Western media, and the atrocities is enhanced and powered by Western equipment with full Western support. But the Western empire is crumbling and falling apart, and I am actually enjoying seeing it. For a simple reason, payback is a bitch. And look at this. And the title is, We Won't Forget, We Won't Forgive. Killing people in a church is something only terrorists used to do in the past. Even they didn't often dare to kill children. Kiev has done both. In the church, an acolyte was wounded during a festive service. Shells from a grad hit the kindergarten. God spared the children. Someday the blood of the victims will fall on the heads of these scoundrels. And it's quite clear. The Russians are fucking them up there in the Ukraine. And the West is powerless to do anything about it. We can see that evil cretins sitting there in the shithouse in Washington are running around like nervous rats. They don't know how to get out of this shit. And their minions in the EU is also scuttling around because they can see payback time is coming. For 1.5 years, they have been fermenting and promoting the hell to the people of the Donbass. And thank God, a man like Putin said, this is enough. And now they are paying. And then look at this, and this one is specifically for that Zazi stalker that I have, with these big stories about how holier than thou that coke-sniffing fucker sitting in Kiev is, but he thinks that guy is the hero. Look at this. A priest from the new schismatic Ukrainian church blessed a NATO-gifted vehicle with a white Zazi cross and almost does a Hitler salute at the end of his speech. Hail Ukraine, brothers and sisters. Look at that. And that Zazi stalker prides himself to be a Christian. Makes me think. And then we have this from Dennis Bushilin, deputy head of the DPR, about people burned alive by Ukrainian Zazis in Odessa on the 2nd of May 2014. 9 years ago, for many of us, along with the people burned alive in the Professor's house in Odessa, the Ukraine we knew ceased to exist forever. The current regime in Kiev is incapable of making an objective assessment of those terrible events and conducting fair investigation. To please the West and stay in power, Ukrainian politicians continue to commit crimes, murder, genocide, ethnic and religious oppression. We still feel the pain of loss. We are sure that the perpetrators of these heinous crimes will be punished. The Donbass will always remember all those who died at the hands of Ukrainians, new Nazis, at the Professor's house in Odessa on 2 May. Yes. And I have said it in my Skidmarks from way back in April last year. There is no way that Putin cannot take Odessa. It will be political suicide. What was done to the people in Odessa, which is a vast majority Russian occupants and citizens in Odessa, what was done in Odessa to those people, burned alive in that building, and those that jumped through the windows and survived were shot on the sidewalks. And under instructions from Kiev and from that cookies Newland, they instigated that violence. The Russians cannot forget or forgive that. So, no matter how that war is going there in your mind, mark my words, Odessa will go to Russia. And then we get to the EU. The EU mulls export curbs for countries that trade with Russia. Brussels may ban certain EU exports to countries believed to be re-exporting sanctioned goods to Russia to enforce the existing sanctions against the country, the Financial Times reported on Friday, citing sources close to the discussions. You can stop it and read the rest. All I'm going to say is the EU is economically fucked. There's not a better word for it. And sorry for those prudes that cannot understand why I use these words from time to time. But there is no other word for it. It is fucked, and they fucked themselves on instruction from those cretins sitting in a shithouse in Washington. And now their citizens are paying for their idiocy. But those citizens allowed those people to do what they did to them. Can you believe it? Just sanction, sanction, sanction. And that's all they want to fucking do all around the globe. They sanction everybody. Sanctions, sanctions, all that. That's the only word they know. But I've got news for them. Not only is their sanctions backfiring, they're going to land themselves in deep shit to try and get stuff from those people that they sanctioned so. But, as I said, payback is a bitch. And this is hot in the war. And on our screens, listen to this. Maur tweeted, "What a pompous, arrogant statement." But then again, even as a young girl, she campaigned for colonialism. And this is the words of Golda Meir. "This country exists as the fulfillment of a promise made by God himself. It would be ridiculous to ask it to account for its legitimacy." What the fuck is that? Unfortunately, there's a lot of white Afrikaans people in South Africa that believe this shit that she's spewing there. I'm telling you, that is pure, unadulterated bullshit. And then we get to this. Look at this. The worst and safest countries for LGBTQ travel in 2023. Now, the black countries, it's not a good plan to go there on an LGBTQ safari. The pink countries, you can go all the way. And I am so fucking sad to see South Africa pink. It is a shame that we are associated with this satanic, godless, immoral cuck. And then we get to this, and this one will make you smile. Wife whacks husband in the head with her 18-inch dildo, Godzilla. Both arrested after the altercation. Think about that and imagine it and smile. And there's more. Take a look at the minimum ages for transitioning from North Carolina's leading hospitals. North Carolina in America, supposed to be a Christian world. This is from there. Look at that. Ages for starting gender transition. Duke Health, 2 years old. UNC Health, 3 years old. ECU Health, 4 years old. I'm not going to say anything more about that. You think about that. And then we get to this. Meat Moop tweeted, "This is how much they would rather have child porn and pedophilia." And it is in response to T.Y. Lemon tweet. According to a new bill in Canada, you can be fined $25,000 for saying there are only 2 genders. The government's website indicates child porn fines as follows. First offense, $1,000. Second offense, $5,000. Third offense, $10,000. Possessing child porn, $16,000. Saying there are 2 genders, $25,000. Let that sink in. That Canada is hovering on the edge of a long drop toilet. That is where, I'm not even so sure that it's still hovering. I think they've already dropped into it. And all at the hands of that fucking useless leader that they have. I cannot believe the Canadians has gone this way. And then here is something that should make you think a lot and have some empathy with me. This channel on YouTube did a piece, and they called it Beyond the Reset, animated short film. And it was something happening in nature, natural things that is happening. But the AI policeman on the channel immediately jumped in and shared its wisdom. The Great Reset Initiative in an economic recovery plan drawn up by the World Economic Forum in Reset to the Pestilence. The project was launched in June 2020 with a video featuring the then Prince of Wales released to mark its launch. Now, that has got zero relevance to the video. Zero. But the AI policeman picked up the word reset and thought, here it is. Now you can understand why I use the abbreviation XXX. And then we get to this one. This is an excellent one, and I'm going to do a skid mark on it. Who do we have here? On his haunches, next to the remnants of a missile. Who else? The great inventor of the shit-shot pact. This is where he got his inspiration for that moonshot cuck that he's feeding the people. And the people are eating it. You better think and think carefully. And then we get to this one, and this is very relevant. This is an old one, but it's very relevant today with the things that are happening. Zelensky says, Grandpa, when are you going to send Americans to fight in Ukraine? And the diaper wearer answers, Kavinsky, we aren't going to fight for you because you're a terrorist. You blew up the Nord Streams. And all that Kavinsky can say is, what the fuck? He outlived is usable life for the new cons. And they're now busy tossing him under the bus. I did a Skidmark a hell of a long time ago in which I said Biden has served Zelensky divorce papers. And then we get this meme, which is so relevant and actually a true reflection of what the hell is going on, especially now with Israel and the Gaza shit on the screens. America is shown as the Statue of Liberty, but look at that. Decimated, underfed, worn out, just a skeleton, but the Ukraine is still hanging on to a tit there. Very, very applicable. And then we get wisdom from Thomas Sowell. The word racism is like ketchup. It can be put on practically anything. And demanding evidence makes you a racist. Let that one sink in deep. And seeing it's Friday, here is some information for all you mothers-in-law. How to bake sweet Karelian pies for a son-in-law. Pies for a son-in-law are believed to have originated in the 18th century when the Karelian women baked them for their sons-in-law. This was how the mothers-in-law showed appreciation for her son-in-law and welcomed him into the family. Today, these pies are still beloved sweet treat in Karelia, enjoyed by locals and tourists alike. It looks great, and me personally, you can catch me in a trap with a pie. Look at that. Who can resist? I cannot resist that. And here is how they bake them. It's not in an oven, they fry them in a pan. I cannot imagine what they must taste like. And then we get back to the same old shit about racism. This Katleko, obviously a local, tweeted, "I hate blacks like you. We work in a corporate. Whites are getting better salaries, promotions, while blacks are left out. And you want to speak of equality? Previous company, white boy came in through the learnship, was trained by staff, he manages 3 years later. Stop this nonsense." And that was a response to Pumlani Majosi, who said, "Here is a South African gentleman. Okay, ignore that he hates me. He says he works in a corporate and that white people are getting better salaries and promotions while black people are left out. What are your thoughts?" And then 10IE responded, "No one hires or fires based on kak. If women were cheaper labor, companies would only hire women. If whites were better, companies would only hire whites. This organ thinks of one case at his previous company. Wonder why it's previous, and now it's the rule." This is the problem. These guys, they tweet. They've got the freedom of speech on Twitter, but they don't have an IQ to actually handle the responsibility of what they are tweeting. And then there's this one, and it's quite sad. "When it is your children's turn to watch their mother raped and their father beaten to death in their own home, please remember, the ANC government has allocated 85 cops to protect each and every one of their inner circle, while you have to share one cop with over 500 other South Africans. That is why no one is answering the phone at the police station." Let that sink in. And then we get to Russia. "On the streets of Moscow began the test of robotic cleaners. Don't show this to the Ukrainians. They still claim to this day that the Russians steal toilets and don't know what a microwave is." quite interesting. I looked at the video where these two things were working, these two robots and automatic cleaners, and they were cleaning the streets. And what is actually ironic is, yesterday I saw a video in Los Angeles, a similar dog robot. And what would you guess? Mounted on his back, a machine gun. That says so much about the American psyche. The Russians apply technology to make the world a better place for the people. The Americans apply that same technology to kill people. And we stay in the US. The US should provide cluster bombs to Ukraine. Congressman. The Biden administration should consider providing Ukraine with cluster bomb munitions, as there are 2 million available in the US. Stocks to determine their effectiveness on the battlefield as Russia continues its special military operation, Congressman Joe Wilson said on Wednesday. I hope every effort will be made to look at providing the cluster bombs that we have 2 million available, Wilson said during a House Committee on Armed Services. Listen to that. They know the Ukrainians throw those cluster bombs on the civilians in the Donbass, but yet they cannot wait to send them more stuff to kill more people in the Congo. Not Russian soldiers, civilians. They throw these things into schools, into markets, into the streets of Donetsk. The American people must just understand, when the world turns on them, they will be paying the price. Not those cunts sitting there in the White House. They, the people in the streets of America, is going to pay for what is being done to them. And by the way, cunt, side. For you guys that are a little bit confused, cunt means side. And we have more. Russia is actually winning the conflict in Ukraine, US General Kavoli. The Commander-in-Chief of the Allied Forces in Europe, General Kavoli, in the testimony of the House Representatives on the Armed Forces, said that Russia was winning the conflict and explained that the degradation of the Russian armed forces was very grossly distorted by the media. Most of the Russian military did not suffer from this conflict, the US general said. Now, I just have to remind you, this was on the 3rd of May of 2023. But what happened? The newcons brushed it aside, and their lapdog media ignored this, because there's no room for common sense and sanity in that warmongering shithouse in Washington. And then we get to this. All I can say is, what the fuck is that? Look at that thing. You must ask yourself, what piece of technology is that? Where does it come from? What is it being used for? Think about that. This is not an AI generated thing. This was shot on a dock in America. And then we get to South Africa. Faith Masebuku, Gauteng MEC for Community Safety, said the provincial government has spent about 450 million on the Crime Prevention Wardens program. She said much of the money has been spent on accommodation, cars, food. Now, what the hell do you know? Where's the money spent on the actual training of those forces? Nah. Accommodation, cars and food, that's top of the list. And then this guy, I had a lot of respect for him. He comes out and he says, the formation of Panyasa Lesufi's Gauteng's Crime Prevention Warden Unit is a positive step necessitated by the failure of centralized policing in the country. This is an unintended step towards federalism and the devolution of policing powers to provinces and communities. AfriForum does not often agree with Lesofie, but this time around credit should be given where credit is due. Now, steel yourself, brace, hang on to your chair, hang on to your trousers, here it comes. There is that force that Kali is so enthusiastically supporting. Look at that, that is the force. And here is another member from that force. This is something that we should give Lesofie credit for. What a fucking joke. But then Ian Cameron, the voice of sanity. Spot the difference between Western Cape LEAP recruits and Gauteng crime wardens. The top is the Western Cape, and the bottom two pictures, Lesofie's gang. And that was in a response to Dollar Bill that thought he was very fucking clever, and he tweeted, I didn't see you complaining when the Western Cape DA did the same thing. And those pictures tells you the difference between what the Western Cape did and what Lesofie is doing. Now you don't need an IQ much higher than room temperature to see the difference. But let's carry on fooling ourselves, keeping ourselves busy with racism and all that. But you know, guys, it's Friday, and Friday is Braaiday. And a good braai is something that a boer can always appreciate. But apart from the braai, this is also time for the back page. And again, for those prudes, please close your eyes and think about other things while the manna enjoys the back page. Wow, there's some good looking women. Yes, women, real women. But guys, it's Friday, and I say again, Friday is Braaiday. So I hope your braai goes as well as this one that I've showed you, if you're unmarried. And if you're a married guy, maybe you must show this image to your wife and just express your wishes. Now, I'm going to do a few more skid marks over the weekend and Briekmerke, and I want to thank the people that are supporting the channel financially. You cannot imagine how much I appreciate that and how welcome that is. But for you people that give me the likes and do the shares, you are doing a lot for the channel, because I've seen many comments and received messages where people are complaining that they don't get the notifications for my skid marks and things like that. So you have to, if you like the channel and appreciate the channel, share it. Share these videos. That's the only way we're going to wake up the people that are sleeping, because the time for sleep is done. What is lying on our horizon, and that horizon is speeding up very fast, is horror stuff. But I'll make more skid marks on it. So, again, enjoy your Friday, have great fun, and remember to subscribe if you have not subscribed to the channel. Thank you.